Okay, let's get all the controls up and running and get all my notes pulled up here for what to talk about tonight, and I think we're gonna be good to go. Hello, people of Post-Apocalyptia. Welcome to a what day is it? Is this Saturday? Oh my god. I got up at like 2 p.m. because I was staying up until like 2 a.m. and yeah, I don't even know what day it is, but I think it's a good time for a little broadcasting in between all of the BABSCon prep, because I just need a break. I got a lot done today, so yeah, just need a break. Hello people out there. Let's see if it's actually going out to anyone. It says I'm live, but it's got a big golden like yellow warning sign, so I'm not sure if that's a good sign or not. One viewer. Okay, we might have one viewer. I realize that this stream is going to be very American because I think everyone in everyone out there is already asleep. Ooh, what is this? Did my order get rush finished? Your order is ready for pickup. Oh, that's pretty fucking sweet. Well then, let's see what time they are open till. Do not mind me, chat. I'm just checking something real quick. Gotta make sure we're getting all of our ducks, all of our legless Pegasi ducks in a row for BABSCon, which includes a few neat things that I've been prepping. All right, where is it? Where is it? There it is. Time you close. Oh, it's already closing soon. Okay, well I'm fucked either way. Okay, I'll get tomorrow then. Then we don't have to interrupt the stream. We can just talk for a little while and have a good time. But first off, okay, I'm not sure if we have 1 or 0 watching. That's okay. We're gonna kick things off for the listeners of the stream after the fact with our new in big quotes theme song for the podcast. Welcome formally to the official kickoff of tonight's BandanaCast. We're still on bandana because honestly, it just looks so adorable in the bandanas. For those of you who might not be aware, that is, of course, Amoria's Groove, which was originally Octavia's Groove by one of the old members of the Balefire Symphony, Light Veins, who was so kind to contribute to the Fallout Equestria animated series album so many years ago. But it's a little chopped up into a nice, digestible 40-second snippet that everyone can enjoy. So it has been it's been a whirlwind of a week getting everything ready for BABSCon. I'm not sure what everyone else is doing. I know convention season is always hectic. I know, especially for people who don't live near like, you know, central convention hubs, it can be an expensive season if you're not prepped for it, which is unfortunate. I know. I've been there myself, where you got to travel like, you know, 3,000 miles for a con, but in this case, it's just down the road, so to speak. But actually, we were a little tentative because we weren't sure if we were going to get confirmed for Everfree Northwest or not, and we were like, well, you know, maybe that might be a sign, you know, if they decide for whatever reason they don't want to give us a panel this year, that you know, we won't make the trip. Maybe we'll sit it out or whatever. But well, no, that ain't necessary anymore, because we did get our panel confirmed for Everfree Northwest 2019. Oh my God, it's 2019. So we will be seeing every pony there, myself and Needle and whoever wants to shell up. You know, maybe Somber will crash the panel again, and I can make fun of him from stage without, you know, knowing more about him. No, hopefully he avoids our panel, because then he'll draw everyone to him and his more popular story. Please come and see us just for an hour, just for 1 hour, please. We try to make good stories. Oh my God. Speaking of good stories, it has also been a very productive couple of weeks for Confessions, getting the our main character cast and getting the lines out to everyone. So half of our favorite returning characters, they've already been turning in their lines, which is great, and everyone else is working on theirs. So keep on trucking along, and hopefully we will be able to get that out there in July for everyone. Did not originally conceive for the series to be broken up into, 1 year between episodes, but it's almost at the end now, and this episode 8's going to be huge, and then episode 9 is already in pre-production. I'm rushing to get some overlap, not rushing where it'll be a bad story, but rushing in the sense that I do want the story to get done. So hopefully we'll be able to release that by Christmas time, ideally. That's the current plan. That's what I'm really, really working towards. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, as always, if anyone has any other topics or whatnot they'd like to discuss, feel free to bring them up. To what was the old quote? Oh God, now I'm reaching. Now we've entered the nostalgic portion of the podcast. Going back to the old Are You Afraid of the Dark series? I humbly submit to the Midnight Society the story of the Silver Sight or whatever. It's not midnight where I live, but it's midnight somewhere, right? It's midnight in Nova Scotia or something. So I humbly submit to the polar bears of Baffin Island. Or wait. Yeah, polar bear is a northern thing. Yeah, okay. So that worked out. Did the Red Reaper kill Captain Alex? Yes. Who's Captain Alex again? I'm not familiar with that character. Is that part of Apex Legends? Alex Legends? I don't know. But yeah, lots of people need some reaping. For the few out there who are going to be meeting with us at BABSCon, our panel time is confirmed. We're going to be going up after those Dead Tree Studios people who are also in the... Wait, which hall are we? Oh, we're in the Lunar Hall. I need to... Shoot, I already wrote that down wrong. We're in the Lunar Hall, as in Luna, as moon ass. Lunar Hall. They're all right next door to each other. If you are there, you'll find us. Lunar Hall on Saturday at 3:30, following the Dead Tree Studios panel, which is at 2. If you like their tabletop game, their PNP books are incredible. They've had those a couple of years now because that's the main driving force of you gotta have your DM manuals and stuff for doing all your tabletop goodness, and they'll also be having at the game room, wherever that is, they're gonna have a demo so people can go through that. Not sure if I will be there, but yeah, that's a neat thing for people. Hello, Pyrotechnics in the chat. I do see you. This is a bit of a break panel in my case, or break stream in my case, because like I said, I've been getting stuff prepped for the last couple of days, and I just need to stop for a minute. It's always a mad rush at the end. No matter how hard I try to prep in advance, it's inevitable that right up until the final hour, you're always doing some kind of final thing, waiting for a final video from James, or getting the PowerPoint wrapped up, or scripts and nonsense. But should be a good time. But I guess what else could we talk about? Because the I guess of course there's the season openers for Season 9. God damn it. For season 9, season openers where we had a couple of reveals. I guess this is spoilers if anyone has not seen the season 9 openers yet. Might want to tune out or skip ahead of the stream if you're listening to this later. But one theory that everyone had talked about was confirmed, in that we are going to see some Grogar, the Goatsy, this season. And it was very interesting how they introduce him in these opening episodes, where it's like they're trying to access the power of friendship, essentially, where they're like, the reason you villains keep losing is because you're by yourselves. You have no teammates, and so all of your weaknesses are like focused because you don't have anyone to balance those out. And we had a nice little cutaway where Sombra's like, "I'll show you weakness." He had this very I don't know how to describe the Sombra voice. It's a very prissy, sort of generic accent. It's really strange. I don't know. It didn't initially fit the character for me, but then looking back on some of the old Sombra fan art that had him extra fabulous, now I guess that is the canon representation. So good for Sombra. It was an interesting kickoff, and then he got fucking vaporized again, just like 6 years ago. Which also surprised me. I thought the thing was gonna end where he would like come crawling back to Grogar with like his tail between his legs, and maybe Grogar will like summon him back again later. But I thought that was an interesting way to play off of the finale. Although ultimately, I think our Sombra from Fall of an Empire was better, the Wilstonator's Sombra. And it was also good too, because they didn't talk about Sombra's past at all. They didn't go to the previous battle or talk about his origins or nothing. So nothing directly violated my fan canon with Fall of an Empire, which is good. So I can still pretend that it somewhat, works in the story. I gotta say though, as much as I've hated Rainbow Dash, she did have probably the best line of the episode, which was Celestia and Luna, they never really help us anyway, which is so true. They're always off doing some other shit. And in this episode, they're helping Star Squirrel garden. It's to keep the Everfree Forest at bay by fucking gardening. Like, are you kidding me? First of all, why would you build a town right on the well? I probably shouldn't say that. A lot of people build towns on the edge of dangerous situations, Florida or Pacifica, California. But it's like that the Everfree Forest would immediately start just like growing through everything and turning it into one giant like thorn bush. That's I don't know. I get the idea of like, we gotta save the town so we have something to come back to. It's like that Return of the King line where it's like, yeah, even once you go off to war, you don't come back and it's not the same. In the books anyway. It wasn't like that in the movies. But yeah, it seems like a slight waste of power to have Celestia and Luna like, gardening, and Twilight and friends go to stop Sombra and Canterlot. But the Discord angle of it was even great too. Just having him like kind of BS the whole time, and then he reveals, of course, at the very end, he's like, "Of course, Sombra couldn't stop me. We wanted you to do it yourself to be the in charge, power of friendship nonsense." So it is curious how Discord being on the team good guy will play out as the season goes on and as they get to the finale with Grogar, because that will be that will be something to contend with. I mean, Discord is a very powerful being when he's not being freaking moron and is screwing around with this chaos nonsense. So if he could put full energy into helping them, or I guess kind of like the Chrysalis thing, they neutralize his power with the whole, anti-magic throne nonsense. That was a bit of a convenient nerf, of course, but yeah, they got to do something to figure out how's Grogar going to stop Discord and use their power of evil friendship, the Grogar League of Unprecedented Evil. It's going to be our heroes versus glue. Oh, gosh. I do hope they have some kind of pun like that. That would be really funny. Maybe they don't say glue, but he spells it out like that. Like Grogar League of Unprecedented Evil. And then you have, like, two of the characters look at each other like, is he serious? But yeah, Evil Team Glue. And they'll have their, their creepy giant goat eye crystal ball, that's another thing too. Goat eyes have always weirded me out, even as a kid. That's a good shortcut for like creeping out kids without, explicitly having something like gory or whatever. Just have like a weird, like an eye thing like that. Ugh. It's just, it's unsettling, the weird goat eyes. It'd be even worse if Grogar had eyes like that too. But I think his were regular. He had like normal-ish, like dot character eyes. Have you ever watched Satellite City on YouTube? No, I've not heard of Satellite City. Yeah. I haven't seen any of the previews for the other episodes of the season, but it does seem like they're going into, most of the season's still going to be the splice of life, one-off type fun episodes, and maybe they'll have a few more like villain, sprinkled buildups throughout, but it seems like it's not the whole season. They're still gonna have like normal episodes throughout and do, some final ideas with all the characters for one last blast, so hopefully they have fun with that. Okay, I will check that out. Whatever Satellite City is. Yeah, so it's pretty neat. And that begs the question too. I haven't looked at the schedule. So how is the season going to release as far as time goes? My Little Pony Season 9. Here we go. Wikipedia list of episodes. So of course, they have everything announced and such. Okay, so they only have up through episode 9 so far, and that's to come out on May 25th. So if they do have a big break at, the 13 mark, like a couple of weeks, it seems like season will probably run until the end of summer, like September, and then that's it. So I don't know how that's gonna go, but I guess our channel for sure is gonna outrun the show. We Terminal Secrets hopefully in a month or two. Hopefully, I'm still have no idea on that. Wasteland Survival Guide, we've got like a 12.5 chapters left. Now that everything's almost written, we have I want to say 15 episodes left. I'm not totally sure. I'd have to double check, but something like that. We have quite a few Wasteland Survival Guides left, so hopefully that'll go into, next year, like this time next year, middle of con season, probably end up doing the finale at a con if we get invited or something. Who knows? And then, possibly Confessions finale by Christmas, and then The Great Experiment also over summer. So hopefully we won't have too many more delays on all of those, but it'll be neat. It'll be something. The Bounty Hunter. It is gonna be fun. I'm very excited. This is a story, it's the thin skeleton that's been laid out over all these years. I can't believe we're almost at the 5-year mark now, which is also crazy. It's I guess it's the 4-year mark since I laid out the skeleton of the overall story. So that's part of why I'm so excited, is just finally getting to the point of getting this out there, which is like, then whatever I do next, whatever main kind of project I do next, is not going to be a big interconnected story. That's for sure. It's going to be some little serialized one-off things or something. I don't know. I don't know. That's future Skybolt's problem. Whatever we do then. Yeah, it's neat too. We have business cards for handing out the cons, and if people like them, then we'll have a few more of them for like other horse related events. It's a nice little, I think, a handy summarization of the studio for handing out to people, you know, letting them know to check us out and whatnot. So that should be a good time. Get some good last stuff out there with the merch and streams and all sorts of fun stuff. Hopefully a few more What the Fix as well. I always have so much fun with those. It'd be great to get a few more good ones of those in this year. That's of course up to Needle and some other stuff though. So you guys should have a podcast after the MLP finale for reflection and everything. Yes, I totally agree. I definitely want. Definitely, once the season finale happens, we will force a coordination of everyone together for to have all four of us talk about the series as a whole and the last season and everything. You know, I know it's rare to get all the founders together on a podcast, but outside of the holidays, it is possible. We've done it a few times anyway. Ugh. It's a number of things. It's like, you know, Vermont down in South Africa, they're having they're not having blessed rains down in Africa right now, where I guess or maybe they're having too much rains. I guess there was some flooding in Mozambique and which borders South Africa, and I guess some of their power to the capital of Johannesburg and was it Pretoria, whatever. That they get some power from Mozambique, so when it knocked out part of their grid, like Vermont has been in and out of the dark for the last couple of weeks, and they're like rationing power and, you know, corruption, government, and all sorts of stuff. So that slowed Vermont down, unfortunately. And then in the case of Calais, he is finishing up some school stuff. It's been a busy semester or quarter, whatever they do in Britannia. And then also they're waiting for one character to record lines for Terminal Secrets so they can drop those final lines in and get that finished. So that's part of the slowdown there. And as Needles described too, she's going through some medical stuff, getting a surgery right after BABSCon too, which has thrown a wrench in the works of recording and a whole bunch of stuff. So we're doing our best. You know, that's the problem of amateur studios. You gotta do your normal life stuff first, unfortunately. Yeah, but we're making progress. That's the important thing. For instance, for me, I got all of my Wasteland survival guides done. All of mine are written, which I think personally are some pretty good episodes. Let me see what's on the way. What's in the docket right now? Scrolling down to the master. There we go. The master list. Okay, so for me that are written but still have yet to come out, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then but the afterward, the final episode 8 that I'll write with James Vermont. So, and one of mine is going to be the one that we're premiering at BABSCon too, which I think should be a fun one for BABSCon. And then what else is written but still on the way is 1, 2, 3, 4 from James and also a couple other guest writers. And then also on the way to be written is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the afterwards of 7. So 7, 7, and 4. So that's, that's 18. If we count the finale, 18 episodes left of the Wasteland Survival Guide. So yeah, we got a lot to do. Hopefully we'll get some more recordings of those and get those rolling out as fast as we can. Cause I think they're gonna be great. I'm so excited, especially for the final package. Like I've already been doing like product testing of how we can lay the big final PDF book out and how we can get a really nice remastered audiobook of everything together, and I'm excited just to get there. But at least we're over the halfway point. We're like, I guess 3/5 done with the series based on everything I'm seeing here. So that's pretty good. yeah, and then Terminal Secrets wrapping up, Confessions 2-ish, 2 or 3 more episodes to go. We'll see. And then Untypical just keeps on going. Whatever James, Vermont and Needle and them are doing with that. It's completely out of my purview. I got brought in to do like that 1 page of lines in the middle of the first episode. And beyond that, it's whatever James is doing with his Patreon and stuff. So I guess beyond our Fallout Equestria stuff, EAST Corp will kind of just be a publishing platform. So, we'll coast out into the ether, into the post Gen 4, the void, the intergalactic space, and we'll see what comes of Gen 5. But I don't know what we'll be doing then. It'll be fun. I do need a new super big project. That is part of my my pondering what I'm going to do for after Confessions, especially once I have the last one written. Then it's kind of like, I guess, demo writing. I'm considering maybe doing a series of short stories, like my own kind of Twilight Zone thing, but in a radio format, sort of like the Twin Terrors, like. Or what Confession started out being, which was half an hour, stories, nugget stories. I think what would save me time on that definitely is, depending on how we do VAs and art, where it might be a pulpy thing where it's just going to be one art thing for each episode and have those commissioned, and then probably just have like a single voice read the entire of whatever the episode is, whether that be me or, guest voice for this or guest voice for that. So we'll see how that all comes. I have a few different ideas of what I'm going to do after Confessions, but nothing's in stone yet. I want to get what we already have done before I work on anything else, we probably would have had Wasteland Survival Guide done by now if we got our Fallout Equestria stuff done first. But whatever. Oh, you are Chaotic Babies, just the name change. Awesome. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, I know. Internet handles are a thing. I actually, in the process of getting these new business cards made that, for cons and stuff, we finally have a what do they call it? A customized channel URL for both the EAST Corp and the Skybolt page. So you can now find us on youtube.com/c/EAST Corp Productions with the capitalized the way we normally write it. The capital East and then the C and then the P. And then also on my own personal YouTube, I have Skybolt's music channel thing, which is really weird. I thought I did that a long time ago, but I guess not. So now we have a nice, stylized, custom channel URL for both of those. Continuing onward, I know for sure I can't finish Pony stuff until the last Symphonic Metal Opera is done. We got to get Pillars of Equestria Part 1 out there, which at this rate, I think is going to come out this summer-ish. Whenever we get that finished. Probably also July-ish. And then we got to do Part 2, because, we got to tell the rest of that story. So hopefully we'll do Part 2, which means, who knows when we'll release that. That could be into the middle of next year, end of next year as well. So yeah, and we'll see what happens there, because I definitely want to see that story finished as well. I have the whole thing layered out for that too. So we're not going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure. It's just I always look ahead. I always got to have the plan. You got to have that 5-year plan ahead of you, and then you update it as you move along. But you got to know what's coming up so you're all prepared, because there's so many people that. I guess that's just me. I don't like to be surprised too much. I like to have a definitive, a marble steps in front of me of where I'm going. Are you going to be streaming the convention? That I'm not sure of. Hopefully we'll be able to do a couple of on the road kind of streams. Maybe when I'm heading out to pick up Needle or something, we'll do a road stream or something. But it's exceedingly difficult, I found, to try to get the panel streamed. So we probably won't stream the panel. Sorry about that. But the video, what we release at the panel or what we talk about, we will be coming out over the week or so after the fact as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll do a couple of, you know, was it BlogsCon type streams, but I can't promise anything. It's just catching up to the stream, watching 2 times. I can't imagine what my voice sounds like at 2 times speed. From probably very chipmunky. I'm gonna take a wild guess, but let me go. I need to go adjust something real quick. So let me put on another piece of music for everyone to listen to, and be right back. Come on, where did I put this music link now? There we go. Okay. Projects and come on. Come on, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Okay, here we go. And music and oh, here we go. This is a good one. Okay, the library. I will be right back. Gotta do something real quick. I love that last note. Oh, that was so good. That's that was the Lightbringer, the Little Pip theme from the ill-fated Fallout Equestria, the animated series by Black Jack with a Q instead of a K, instead of the first K. See, that's my favorite thing too that we're going to be talking about at the convention is great experiment stuff, because you know, of course James had to up the ante with bringing on Wubby, that's source filmmaker animator, to get all these very nice animated parts for the documentary, but that of course added a few months onto the time of the production. But it is coming along swimmingly, and we actually have a large, like, 5-minute demo that we're going to show off at the con, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm so curious as to how long the final thing is going to be. Like, I know for me, I recorded 45 minutes of I want to say a monologue. Like, it's based on how we did this is, me and James, when we got the whole thing worked out, we got a big timeline together of our entire 10 years at Stable Tech. And then we asked all the questions, related to our stuff and their stuff and the studio. And we got this list of it was big. I think it was 40 questions. Not everyone could answer every question, but we had them out there. And that's what we presented to the other, was it 6 to 8 people from the studio that got interviewed for it. So, yeah, it's gonna be a lot to talk about. Not to mention all the various, the crumbs, the leftover pieces from the animated series that we're going to be showing off. Some stuff that we've talked about before, for sure, on the podcast and venting and whatnot. But what's so great is it's going to be one super polished, condensed everything. It's going to be the whole story from our perspectives, as well as all these other characters, players from the era, and also a couple of just, stuff that we're finally showing off that we didn't have a chance to in the past. So I think it's going to be really great. Which was another thing that was a couple of years delayed of doing the Great Experiment documentary. Perhaps fittingly, we kind of felt Stable Tech would probably go tits up at some point, right as soon as we left, but I honestly thought that they could at least do episode 1. I was disappointed in that much as well. 6 months and then they just shut her down. So I think we were both caught off guard by how sudden it was, and then that was in the middle of all the other productions. So James was getting Untypical off the ground, and I was getting the second half of Confessions really written and a lot more meat put on those bones. And so yeah, it just kind of delayed us through 2018, but then then we got the big push together, and so it's getting done. It will definitely premiere this summer, and it should be good. I am really impressed. Of course it is his job or whatever, what James went to school for, but as a really nice editing, and the SFM that Wubby's contributing does look really good too. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah, I know. I can't believe how long ago it was either. It's just I don't know. It's just been a blur, man, the last couple of years. Just one magical horse thing to another. But yeah, it's been quite the ride, that's for sure. Yeah, but beyond all that, what else is there to talk about? I know, I guess Evangelion is premiering on Netflix in June, which is interesting. And one thing I didn't realize either is that it's not going to be the original dub. They got a brand new English dub together, and that's what they're premiering, which is fine, I guess, but that doesn't quite do it for me. I actually ended up getting the old dub on Blu-ray on eBay. It was the some 20th edition thing they released, I want to say 5 years ago, because I've seen bits and pieces of Evangelion, but not the whole thing. But I like the classical dubs, the classical English dubs. It's just something, I don't know, it feels more genuine. It feels like, it fits with the era that it comes from. I had the same discussion with some friends over the Akira 25-year release, this really nice, steel box Blu-ray from Funimation or whatever. But it had the original Akira dub from 88 when it hit the American shores like Pearl Harbor. And then it had some Redux dub from 2001. Which was super distracting because the voice actor they got for Kaneda, the main red motorcycle guy, is the same voice actor as Tai Kamiya from Digimon, and I was a big Digimon fan growing up. I loved the shitty American movie and the American dubs of Digimon Adventure 1 and 2. That was my jams, man. I loved that shit. So hearing Tai Kamiya run around as Kaneda was very disconcerting. I did not like it. So I immediately went back to the 1988 dub, and it just it feels right, I was someone who grew up on all the old Godzilla dubs as well. You know, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus Biollante, and King Ghidorah, and Mothra. All those very not matching whatsoever dubs, where you just, you know, you see the Japanese lips flapping, but the English doesn't match it at all. I love it. It's so great. It's so fitting for that kind of media, and I feel the same way about some of these, like, 80s and 90s anime. It's like, no, I don't want to hear some shitty modern, like, redubbing. And you know, we've had the dub versus sub discussion too. My position is firm on that, but more specifically, when it comes to dubs, the original dub, I like it better. Unless there's some, you know, vague anime out there where the first dub was like literal shit and it didn't have some kind of like historical quality to it, which is what I'm talking about, then the new dub is probably better. But, you know. Anyway, so that's Evangelion. That's what, you know, Netflix are really, really fucking hard about, that they're premiering their own new dub of Evangelion, which, who knows what that's going to be like. That's the other reason I wanted to get the original too. I'm like, I wonder how much they're going to change. You know, is this going to be like the 4Kids version of where a lot of stuff is significantly altered, and you got the finger guns, or you paint the guns out of everything? Ugh. I remember when Steven Spielberg did that shit too for the E.T. Blu-ray release. I don't know why either. I never liked E.T. Like, my brother he's the 80s child. Him and my sister, they grew up in the 80s of My Little Pony and G.I. Joe and all that shit. And, you know, they liked E.T. okay, but I don't know why. But for whatever reason, one of the first Blu-rays we got was fucking E.T. Or no, not Blu-rays, DVDs. Back in like the 2000s, DVDs. And so for whatever reason, we ended up with E.T. as one of the first DVDs we ever got, and our only DVD player for like 4 years was my PlayStation 2. And that was the edition where you know, Steven Spielberg wanted to release the... I don't know why I'm giving him the Lucas voice. It's the same ideology, though, of, oh, let's paint the guns out of it. Guns are scary. Which, of course, completely neuters the whole threat of the movie, which is that this, you know, this poor, you know, child who stumbles upon some freaky-ass alien, and they're both hunted by the government, you know, because of experimentation on the alien and the kid and all that. So removing the guns and putting in fucking walkie-talkies and shit, that completely undercuts the whole story. That's also like that trend in like the late 2000s of the of like making the PG-13. They want to try to convert everything into a PG-13 variant, like the RoboCop remake and the third Expendables movie. And what the hell? They did that with a lot of stuff where it's like these very gritty or visceral kind of 80s properties that they just, you know, that they completely gelled. And so they're just these, you know, right before they shoot, they cut away. You don't see any splashes of blood. It's like the bullet flashes from the barrel from a distance. It's like, you know, give me a fucking break, man. I mean, in a way, the same discussion, speaking of things coming to an end, same thing happened with Game of Thrones too, where of course, you know, everyone was complaining about how, you know, how gritty and, oh my gosh, look at all the blood and nudity in Game of Thrones, you know. Yeah, I know. Everyone's so surprised that an HBO show has a lot of blood and nudity. It's like, what the fuck? That was the whole purpose of HBO. That was their marketing, going all the way back to the 80s. It was a TV channel that you could access that could show you all those real gritty things that you couldn't see on, you know, daytime ABC television or whatnot. But no, it's like then by the time you get to some of these later seasons and you get the controversies like, the Sansa rape scene, it's like, did you actually watch the episode? It's like, it cuts away immediately. You see him unzipping the back of her dress. That's it. And then it cuts away to Reek, you know, standing in the corner. Speaking of castrated properties, it cuts away to Reek standing there in the corner looking all sad like, you know, he betrayed his sort of sister. You know, he'd been raised with her for like 5 years under the Stark family. And they treated his, you know, ungrateful ass really well. Anyway, it's like, so you see a lot of that get cut down just over time of one show. And it's like, come on, man. Come on. Are we really not gonna have any visceral things anymore? It feels like it's starting to go back, though. It feels like, they're moving away from that because they're like, oh wait, we can't sacrifice the main draws of of a property for stupid shit like this. Even with the RoboCop remake, when they had the was it? I think it was Samuel L. Jackson, right? Where he was sort of like a Bill O'Reilly character, which is really ridiculous. And it was fine. He did well enough with the material, but it's like, that's one of the hallmarks of RoboCop as a movie was the biting sarcasm and satire on the ideology of the day, and having a Sam Jackson O'Reilly character in a full R-rated movie. They could have done amazing stuff with that, but no, we gotta make sure it's PG-13. You gotta put those asses in seats, rather than maybe save a bit of money on the special effects and do it right. I don't know. It seems like there's still a market for it. Like, even when Expendables did that, the first two movies made a shitload of money. Maybe it was a lot of old people going to see, Bruce Willis and Schwarzenegger and Stallone again. They had watched growing up, but it's like, yeah, a lot of people they just wanted a gritty action movie. Like why would you kneecap it so stupidly like that? Okay, I need to go back to the chat. So what are people talking about? Yeah, 4Kids. Do you know about the Ghost Stories English dub? I'm not familiar with the Ghost Stories anime. Yeah, replacing guns with water guns and slingshots. It is so silly. Yeah, that's right. At least Blade Runner 2049 was not, they didn't do it to that, which is thankful. Obviously I didn't grow up with the original. I know the original is a significant, a driving creative inspiration in most modern cyberpunk, sci-fi and whatnot. But I really liked the new one. I really felt like the new one, like, it did a few things better than the original. Obviously you can't beat the original in terms of, like, its cultural impact, but as far as, like, just analyzing the 3-hour, narrative, I thought the new one did really well. I liked it. Did The Walking Dead start censoring swearing? Oh my gosh, really? That's ridiculous. Like, what? Then again, I've been off the Walking Dead train for a long time now anyway, because it's boring as shit. But come on. It's just like with YouTube. Everyone instantly gets demonetized if you swear. So now everyone on this fucking platform, they're bleeping their words with that, with a whole variety of silly, censorship sound effects, which is, okay, yeah, that's great. I feel like I'm watching, like, daytime reruns of South Park on, Comedy Central at 4 p.m. Wow, yeah, what a great way for the internet to end. Being censored like it's the fucking FCC coming down on them. God damn it. What a... just awful. Just awful. Everything's going back to, like, very, very safe, sanitized, late 90s, like... God damn it. So no, that's fine. That's fine. YouTube will keep softening up. T-Series will eventually surpass PewDiePie and all that, and eventually, then other platforms are going to come up and usurp the sharp forward edge of YouTube or of internet culture. Because of course, no one becomes significant by playing it safe. Game of Thrones didn't become super famous because they played it safe. They tried as well as they could to have a gritty retelling of this famous, quote unquote fantasy series started in the 90s. And it's like, you move forward by taking chances. Like whatever this new streaming platform thing that PewDiePie is on now. Now everyone's going over to D Live, whatever that is. So, I don't know. I was never into the Twitch thing. Like, I really don't watch, video game Let's Plays or whatever. And, like, maybe if it's a game, like, I'm curious about and I want to see what the gameplay is like, but, like, the like, 2014, 15 era, like, Markipliers and stuff, it's just, it doesn't do it for me. thoughts on a Game of Thrones prequel? Are they really talking about doing a Game of Thrones prequel? That would be interesting. I don't know. Like, what would the prequel cover? Are they going to go back in time to like the first war of, like, you know, building the wall, Bran the Builder or whatnot? Like, there's a lot they could do with a Game of Thrones prequel. Like, I wouldn't mind actually seeing the Doom of Valyria. That would be great, just for a 1-season kind of like mini series. Show what, you know, Valyria, Rome, culture was like before the big, you know, volcanoes fucked everything over, and then the ruins of old Valyria just become this what do they call it? Stone scale, or is the scaly stone skin, you know, disease infested place. Oh, I see. The Walking Dead comics, they say all the fun words very liberally, but yeah, you can't do that on television. Yeah, and that's one of the many drawbacks of TV. And that's why it's like, I mean, could you imagine if they start doing that at Netflix? Like, oh yeah, we're just not going to release any naughty words on Netflix anymore. Everything gets cut down to PG-13. I mean, that would be ridiculous. I mean, YouTube could do the same thing. YouTube could easily have the, you know, an adult tier or whatever. Have it an 18 plus tier where you can say whatever you want. Just have your whole channel be 18 plus, you know, quote unquote. Maybe they don't accept porn or whatever, sure, but let people curse and let people let the advertisers, since they're the ones that have a problem with it, just like everything else. If they advertise on other channels and stuff, let them be able to choose. Like, okay, yeah, you can put our ads on this content. It's like, you know, who cares if it's like, you know, what, a razor company like fucking Dollar Shave Club or Audible? Like, do they really care if their ad goes before Game of Thrones or whatever? Or, you know, it's just ridiculous. So that's right, TV does suck. And that's the frustrating thing, is basically TV is like a virus that now is like trying to take over YouTube. Or rather, YouTube is trying to bow themselves before the altar of the old media, which is of course bullshit. You know, you're watching various YouTube videos and then you get in your recommended, do you want to see the clips from Jimmy Kimmel Tonight from last week? No, fuck off, Jimmy Kimmel, you fucking wino bastard. I don't care about whatever you talked about on you know, edgy Tonight Show television, you know. Oh yeah, fucking yeah, you're so great. You're such biting social commentary that you can be on late night networks. Yeah, sure. No, it's Walking Dead TV show. Rick said in an episode that they don't know who the F with, but change they don't. Oh yeah, who they're messing with. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. It's just frustrating. I don't know. It's like even like broadcast standards like that. It's like it's kind of a thing of the past, right? Like. Didn't they start rolling into like the safe harbor protections and like after the 10 p.m. slot? Like you could actually get away with a lot more once you're on like 10 p.m. television. I mean, what the fuck? Like, who even cares anymore? All these kids these 5-year-olds are much better with tablets and phones and stuff than many of their stupid boomer parents. So it's like, why are we even bothering with FCC censorship when they're probably scrolling through, you know, porn and stuff on websites? Not that they know what it is, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just like with everything else. When you try to make things safe enough that it can protect the weakest among you, then the normal person suffers. You know, this is like someone burns their hand with a clothes iron, and so they have to turn all the clothes irons down to some new safety setting. So everyone else, it takes them twice as long to iron a shirt or a dress or something than it used to, because one dumbass burned themselves on the hot iron. You know, and there's a lot of protections, a lot of safety features that can easily not fuck with the core technology. Like if we're going with the irons example, they're like a tip over setting that automatically turns off the iron if it feels like it's falling. Okay, that's fine. You could do that. Or like a safety switch, you know, where your finger has to be on the switch for it to be on, and what do they call that? Like a safety disconnect. And then if your finger or thumb comes off of it, then, you know, it shuts down or it stops cutting or whatever. And it's like, there's a number of ways that companies can make things more, you know, user-friendly, so to speak, without jeopardizing the core mechanic, the core value in a product. So, it's the same thing with YouTube. Okay, if you want YouTube to be more kid-friendly or whatever, then split it into tiers. Have full-tier YouTube, which is quote-unquote 18 plus, or 17 plus, you know, rated M for mature, and then you have your kiddie YouTube, or your teenager YouTube, or whatever, and that's where you can't say the naughty fuck words, or whatever. It's like, I don't know. Anyway. It's been $5 from Sketchy Rivet. It's sort of the same thing that happened with shoes and planes or the McDonald's thing. And yeah, the person that sued because she spilled the coffee on herself. Yeah, the shoe on the plane thing too. It was like, it's like, okay, it was one guy. It was one guy who tried to sneak, like, what was it, plastic explosives into the sole of his shoe or whatever. It's like, can we, like, there's a time release thing. Can we not deal with that anymore? Like, does everyone really have to take off their shoes at airports these days? Like, even me, like, I put in for, like, the TSA super screening thing, so I could just do the pre-check. It's like, come on, you know, the CIA taps into everyone's cameras anyway, all the Vault 7 bullshit. Like, why are you really messing around with this? Like, can we just get on with it already? Can we go back to a time where we don't have to get to an airport 2 hours before the flight leaves just to have a reasonable expectation of getting on the plane? Yeah, always normal people suffer because of a few stupid people. But at least, you know, some industries adapt to it then. Like when the liquid, you know, measurements started coming in, then all the travel sizes for everything had to get down within the TSA specifications. So at least that way you could still have, you know, your eye drops on the plane, or your, you know, and a lot of things like inhalers or like hand lotions and stuff, where it's like you got to have the travel sizes. So it's just stupid. It's frustrating waiting for everything else to catch up and to adapt to stupid things like that. Yeah, the McDonald's coffee thing where they made the coffee a lot less hot because she burned herself or something. Yeah, it's I don't know. There's like which is fine, but it's like, you know, then a lot of people who got McDonald's coffee before that point, they could get it and they could let it, you know, it could last their whole drive, you know, whatever, if they're going to work or whatever, and they have a full half hour or an hour commute. Like, luckily for me, I've always been more of an iced coffee person anyway, so it never became a problem. But it's just one of those examples of I don't know, forcing everyone to adapt. I remember that being a thing too about QWERTY keyboards. I'm not sure if it's an urban legend or not, but there's something about them changing to QWERTY keyboards to make it so, like, they couldn't type as fast because the mechanical, like, typewriters of the day were getting overloaded. Because I know original keyboards, there were some that were like key optimized, where like the home row that you rest your fingers on, instead of it being ASDF JKL semicolon, which is really stupid. How the fuck many times do people use a semicolon in typing? But those 8 letters were like the most common letters at that time. So it was like, you know, probably ERS, I forget what the list was, like TYNM, I think, or something like that. But the keyboard was like type optimized, so you could type really fast because all the common keys were right at the center. And there are keyboards like that you can still get, I think, but if I remember the urban legend right, the QWERTY keyboard became very prominent because it wasn't optimized for people's typing speed. It was optimized for the use of mechanical typewriters of the 1920s, which is really, really just stupid that that's carried on. It's one of those little things you don't think about until someone points it out. Like, oh yeah, you could get different keyboard arrangements. Or, I mean, technically you could rearrange it yourself as long as you know, re-key everything, but standardization is what drives it. So then every time you use a new computer, you would then have to get used to the QWERTY keyboard again, because that's what everything is like standardized for. So I know that's another thing with other languages too, like Japanese keyboards and Chinese keyboards. The way they arrange to build, you know, those characters is really interesting, and I wonder if similar things happen for them, where, you know, during the development of different technologies, typewriters and internet stuff, if they had like variant keyboards, and I wonder if those are like, you know, character optimized rather than ours. That would be interesting. It'd be interesting too, like character optimized keyboards for other languages, like maybe a language that uses a lot of like character accent keys, like Polish, for example, or other weird character things like Thai, Vietnamese, those like the Indochina languages. That's it's really interesting. It's one of those things. It's just like with language, unless you speak several languages, you don't think about how different something as simple as a communication medium can be, and you think about those language barriers over time, like or points of history too. Like I really think back to one of the first diplomacy isn't the right word, but when the U.S. sailed Captain Perry's fleet over to Japan in like the 1850s to open up the Japanese market to trade, it was such a famous meeting of the meeting of nations that they called it gunboat diplomacy, because they had like a bunch of like, you know, battle frigates just sailed into Tokyo Harbor or whatever to make a deal and open up trade relations, because at the time Japan was still very it was like, I think, shogunate Japan, and there was I forget the Japanese word for it, but very isolationist, where they only had two ports for foreign trade, the Dutch studies, and it was like Nagasaki and one other one, I think Osaka, like on the far south side of the country. So very interesting. But anyway, where was I going with that? Channels of community. So I wonder what it was like for them. Like, did they have a full English to Japanese translator on board? Did they have more than one? Did they have anyone? Or did they have to just kind of figure things out as they were talking and making signs and pointing to things? Or you know, a lot of interaction with like a new language or a new tribe over time. You know, not really so much anymore because of how interconnected the world is. But yeah, it's one of those things you don't think about. That's like the what was it? We talked about, I think it was on a BananaCast or BandanaCast or whatever, where it's like the 5 or 6 like key languages. Like if you know English, French, Mandarin, Arabic, and Spanish, you could talk to almost anyone in the world. And how interesting it is as things like that converge over time. And then you have stories like the Sentinelese, the indigenous people of North Sentinel Island down there by India and Burma, and they've completely stayed isolated from the rest of the world for, kind of isolated. Like there's been a few times where like, you know, fishermen or the British or whatever like landed on the island, but you know they were able to spear them quickly enough that there was no real exchange of culture. There was no, you know, the Colombian contact or whatnot. So it would be very, I don't know how they do it, but it would be so important for like anthropological science if they could drop like an invisible robot in the middle of Sentinel Island just to listen, just to like take pictures and listen, like send a bunch of like microscopic like bug drones just to listen to them talk, try to pick up on their language and understand their society that has been completely isolated from the rest of the world for so many years. Like, who knows what it could tell about like pre-Bronze Age civilizations, or you know, whenever they first reached the island and stuff. It's things like that are just endlessly fascinating about things like that. And I think there's a few tribes like that still in the Congo and New Guinea as well that are just, you know, and the Amazon, like uncontacted people. So, and it's because of that uncontact where you could get a lot of really interesting insight into the historical cultures of a lot of other countries and other peoples of different areas. And yeah, that's one of those things where technology could really, really help and really just like anything else, you could lay out or like the origin of languages. That's another thing I read up recently was, the origin of how certain languages come to be, like how you get a language like Hungarian, Magyar, from like the Finno-Uralic dialects, coming down to Hungary, up from Finland, and from Finland coming from like the Ural Mountains and Siberian stuff, and have the Indo-Iranian languages, and or is it Indo-European, and then there's the Semitic languages and sub-African languages. It's very interesting. I love that kind of like, the anthropological breaking points. How do you get this unique dialect versus this one? Okay, back to the chat. Yeah, airports are nonsense. Yeah, I think the coffee thing might have been a urban legend or something, but I love the feeling of hearing some clacking sound from typing, not really into the way the Apple keyboard is set up. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I get, like, you don't want a really loud mechanical keyboard where you're always hearing the like with every key. But at the same time, I do like hearing a little bit of something. I don't know. It's just that the tactile response and then having the tiny click hit your ear, it's like it helps you stay in sync a little bit better. It helps at least for me, a writer or anyone who writes. I don't know. It just feels like you can go with the groove a little bit better. It's the same reason I like listening to music or whatever when I'm writing or studying. It just, you feel like you can get a rhythm better for what you're doing. Actually, I read this really interesting book that talked about the origin of languages and stuff too, mentioning the importance of music and rhyming, about how rhyming and things like, religious chants and stuff came about not only because of, whatever cultural, significance they had, but because the rhyming has some kind of deep, like, some ancient evolutionary structure in the brain where it's very similar to other kinds of animal calls. Like the rhyming just, on some deep level, it works better. It clicks better with people. And so that's why you still have things like song and poetry being so important, and why people connect to them so emotionally. Oh yeah, the okay hand sign. Oh my gosh. This is why you don't let memes run culture. Like, culture should reflect, the memes should reflect culture, not the other way around. It's just like, it's just falling for the bait. Like, come on, man. You gotta not do this. Why Mandarin? Oh, it's just for numbers alone. It was in the discussion, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 like podcasts ago. It came up where we're talking about if you wanted to talk to as many people in the world, like, have some kind of like baseline point for as many people in the world, learning the languages where over 1 billion people speak it is like the best, first way to go. So in the case of Mandarin, the People's Republic of China, they've been very forward with their influence over certain regions over the last 50 years. So, for instance, Tibet, everyone in Tibet knows Mandarin now because it's probably illegal to speak their native language or whatever. Same thing with Hong Kong. The Cantonese sort of Chinese dialects are getting overwritten by standardized, simplified Mandarin. China alone is 1.3 billion people, and then you have places like Tibet, and then you have what is it called? Jingwei province, the far west, the Uyghurs, the whole, the Muslim sub-dialect thing, that whole thing with China, yay. But anyway, the whole point of it was languages where, knowing the minimum amount of languages to talk to the maximum amount of people. And I think we came to Arabic because of the, the Islamic growth between, what was it, 600, the Islamic Golden Age, from like 650, Muhammad, whatever, all the way through like the I think basically up until the Mongols. It was the Mongol invasion that first really knocked everyone back on their ass. Knocked Europe back, and knocked some of the Islamic empires back. But anyway, that got Arabic spread over a lot of the world. And then, of course, English and French and Mandarin and then Spanish. So those 5 languages, there's a really good chance you can talk to almost anyone you run into. Oh yeah, Estonian is part of the Finnish language group. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I said, it's just, it's interesting how things like that develop. And then with, even though England, the British Empire has declined over the last 70 years since, really since the Suez Crisis, but as an interesting artifact of history, because of America, because of the breakaway of the new English colonies, then America had the side effect of then pushing American English out to a lot of the rest of the world as well. So, I mean, you can talk about places like Liberia, for instance, the Americo-Liberians. You can talk about Philippines. You can talk about, the Kenyatians, too, the influences that they've had. And a lot of American influence, good or bad, across the world. Technology, too, the standardization of things like the internet and flying. But, those were 2 huge things, and both America and Britain had a very significant impact on both of them. And so then a core language of flying or the internet being English, that's another thing that pushes people to learning those languages respectively. So yeah, it's interesting how what to come in the future. There's like the line from the Looper movie where it's the future gangster guy talking to the younger guy, what's his name? He was in The Dark Knight Rises as well. Fucking what's his name? Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The young kid in Looper, the baby Bruce Willis. When he's talking to the old guy and he's like, "Kid, I'm from the future. You want to learn Mandarin?" Because if Chinese influence keeps growing throughout the 21st century, like they're trying to do in East Africa right now, it's something useful to learn, or any number of other like trends like that. So, yeah, no, man, it's important. Sorry, I know I go off, but my dad's a history major. I got a lot of this from my dad growing up. A lot of interesting, studies, a lot of, neat things, some of the museums he took me to. So it's good for writing, too. If you want to get ideas for writing, find some random, lesser-known thing from history and just read a lot about it. For instance, what was I looking at? I stumbled on a YouTube video. I think it was another languages YouTube video, and the guy was talking about the various various wars between the Mayans and the Aztecs in the Americas, pre-Columbus. It was just when those separate civilizations were vying for their own power. So you had the Mayans in the Yucatan Peninsula, and then you had the Aztecs sort of in the central Mexico City, Teotihuacan area, and how they influenced each other and how they interacted with and absorbed other tribes in the area. And it's just reading, unique little tidbits about someplace you might not have really thought about before. You get a lot of good writing ideas. You get to have a lot of really good, it gets the gray matter churning, and who knows what you end up writing because of that. Oh yeah, Article 13. I don't know if we want to talk about that, do we? It's a bit of a sad times. I saw one comparison of how Article 13 is basically just the SOPA and PIPA, but for Europe, and it actually went through, which is really fucking sad. But it's I guess that kind of goes back to the whole the televisionization of YouTube, where all the corporations, they want everything to be nice and corporate. They want to put everyone's content and entertainment inside these little 5-foot, felt-walled cubicles, so everyone plays nice within their corporate architecture, within their greater influence, which is why things like Patreon or Subscribestar or whatever, were started, was so that you have independent funding vectors for for business, for, you know, average people, for individual creators and small creators and stuff. But it's just like with big business, like normal, like Main Street business too, where everything gets overridden by Walmart. You know, all this, like all these really monopolistic practices of these companies, or even Patreon gets screwed over then by credit card companies. Like, are you fucking kidding me? There should be a law against that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just fucking sad. You shouldn't have these governments or governments enforcing the will of large corporations or vice versa. Like, it's such bullshit. Like, it's just a way to smash smaller creators, you know. And those are the kind of people that would try to keep the real innovators down, because of course, you know, real innovation comes from anywhere. It could come from literally anywhere or anyone, you know. These are the Copernicuses getting oppressed by the Catholic Church. These are any number of interesting thinkers or minds or whatever getting just screwed over by the big guy. That's the reason you cheer for underdogs. It's the reason you support the small guy, because, you know, you don't need to help the powerful. The powerful are powerful enough. It's like, you know, if you find yourself on the side of Twitter or fucking Alphabet Google, it's like, really consider, like, hey, am I on the right side of history? You know, should I be cheering for Vanderbilt and his railroad empire? Should I really be on the side of Rockefeller and his multi-trillion dollars in oil assets? You know, maybe I should reconsider my position. I don't know. Yeah, in the 1970s, in 50 years, we'll have flying cars. 2019 top Fortnite player compilation. Oh my gosh. Yeah, China. I don't know what's going to happen with China. Because, you know, of course, everyone's talking about, yeah, China are the big, you know, the great, you know, the great tiger of the East. They're going to run the world in the 21st century. It's the Chinese century. That has yet to be proven. China could easily make too many missteps, and their gambit could come crashing down on them. I mean, a lot of empires have crashed for a lot of very similar ways. You know, the People's Republic overextending themselves into Xinjiang and Tibet. Maybe they push a little bit too far with Taiwan. Maybe they really try to, like, forcibly incorporate Taiwan once and for all, and that pisses off America just enough where we intervene in a more significant way, you know. Unfortunately, they're still building up all the bullshit, you know, the island bases across the South China Sea, so that's unfortunate. But, you know, they could push too hard. They could push their economy too far, too. Like, say Europe and America start rebuilding their own manufacturing bases again, and so, you know, sending a lot of cheap, you know, companies overseas to China, you know, sweatshops in Indonesia and Nike shoes coming out of Taiwan and stuff, or not Taiwan, out of Thailand and stuff. You know, maybe domestic manufacturing becomes lucrative again from protective tariffs or something like that. Who knows? But a shock like that could cause the, you know, could cause the yuan to implode if it's paper money, if it's imaginary, you know, because most of these major world currencies are like that anyway. They're all imaginary. It's like a whole bunch of hot air balloons bumping into each other. You know, as soon as one of them pop, you just hope that your balloon isn't close enough where that popping balloon causes damage to you. It's such bullshit. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's what I'm saying is China could easily overplay themselves, just like Japan. I mean, in the 1980s, everyone thought Japan was going to take over the world, which is, you know, they were growing at a rapid rate at the time, but then their own economy got hit with, I think it was a housing crash, right? It's just not too dissimilar from us, where they had a big market crash and they never really recovered from it. It just kind of contracted their economy to just the island and then their normal, you know, vectors of technology and cars and stuff. Or it could be where, you know, they get a little bit too oppressive to the the Xinjiang, the Uyghur Muslims, they press them a little bit too hard, and then a bunch of companies like, full on embargo China, or even set up like trade blocking or whatever. That could crash their economy pretty damn quickly, and be like, okay, now you gotta let them go and let them be Uyghurstan or whatever independent country they want to be, probably. So I'm sure they don't like whatever's going on right now. Yeah, it's all about money and power, and money is just an expression of power. I mean, you have to think of money for what it is, imaginary. Money is fiat. Money is just an expression of power. So, you look at World War II, for instance, like, everyone's economies crash, yes, and the main fighting of World War II was on the European continent, and then, the Chinese, East Asia, pushing back on the Japanese Empire. But the reason that, like, the US and Russia were able to push so hard is because of real assets. That's what matters. Real assets, not money. Like, yeah, Singapore is super awesome. They have all these really radical, financial institutions and banking interconnections, and, you can have your little Liechtensteins or whatever. But when it really comes down to it, real assets are what matter. You're having a manufacturing base in fucking Detroit or Michigan or where did Russia build their tanks again? It's like, I don't know, Vladivostok, whatever. Real assets are what matter. I mean, really, that's the other real reason why Russia and the US were such major players in the war. Land area. They both control a lot of assets under the ground, a lot of raw materials, a lot of everything like that, which is why, like, for instance, and I've heard rumors of this too with the US, one big way we really do need to check the Russians, which is like something a lot of people ignored for a long time, is the Arctic. Russia has a shitload of bases in the Arctic Circle, and America and Canada really should have some more too. Like, we really should have a giant naval base in, like, Prudhoe Bay or off of, what's the town there? Barrow, Alaska. Really should have some kind of big, like, submarine / surface ship base, and Canada can put something on, like, fucking Baffin Island or whatever. Would be a good idea, especially if the ice caps keep melting and a whole bunch of oil and gas and other resources become readily available in the Arctic. That's gonna be a big power play. That could power one country for several hundred years. Who knows what could happen, but. Yeah, it all comes down to the simple things, man. Land, assets, real physical power, and the ability to hold them, of course. That's the other key factor. Which is why I always thought it was strange that, like, Ukraine and Kazakhstan, like, if I were 1992 Ukraine or Kazakhstan, president of one of those countries, the last thing I would do is, okay, Russia, here's all your nukes back. Well, fucking no. Keeping that shit. You have 200 nuclear weapons within your own borders. It's like, no, you hold on to that. Like, it honestly is the same thing with North Korea. Why in the name of, all that exists would they ever give up their nuclear arsenal? I mean, honestly, I'm saying as an American, that would be fucking dumb, because they'd end up the same way as, Iraq or Libya or, what it's too many damn players in our government want to do to Venezuela. It's like, no, stay the fuck out. And it's like, having an actual nuclear arsenal is a great way of saying stay the fuck out. I mean, honestly, it's the same reason why South Africa had one for a while, when they were, a very realistic social pariah in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then, when that government broke down, they didn't need nukes anymore, because they were playing nice. But, yeah, man, it's real power. Money is kind of power. It's an expression of power, but money has to have something backing it up. If it doesn't have a gold standard, it has an iron standard, aka firepower, warfare, or a capacity to produce. Yeah, so in the case of America, most of the American continent is within good growing farmland. I mean, that's the same reason Ukraine was so valuable to Moscow, was because Ukraine, it's even their fucking flag. The Ukrainian flag is blue sky on top of yellow wheat field. It's like, yeah, it's simple stuff, because you can't invent your way out of simple simple needs, you know, simple important things. So I don't know. I'm rambling now. It's fun though. It's always fun talking. Again, this is all the writing process. You think about like what are the big players and stuff, how things are going to unfold over time. So China could easily, and they probably will still be a big player of the 21st century, but they got to be careful because they could have things crash in on them if they overextend themselves. Speaking of Canada, Quebec. That's right. Yeah, we're all just waiting for Quebec independence to Hon Hon Boogaloo or whatever. Oh yeah, I have heard about something going on with Trudeau and stuff the last couple of weeks. I haven't really looked into it, but it seems like he's something's going on there. So I don't know. Alaska needs to buy Canada needs to buy Alaska from the US. I think the opposite. US needs to just take over Canada. Just kidding. At the very least, they should have been a little bit harder to the British to like keep like a land bridge between Alaska and the US, but you know, it's fine. It's worked out fine. I enjoy going to the park, an obscure park where nobody goes to. Yeah, it's nice just having some alone time, some unique isolation or whatever. Yeah, no, Alaska is going to be valuable. I mean, let's say, you know, really no matter what Alaska is valuable. It's got a shitload of resources in it. We really should, you know, if we have a powerful enough economic standing and the political willpower, we really could like develop Alaska a lot more. We really could beef up the Alaskan highways between the various cities like Nome and what was it, Fairfax, Anchorage, Fairbanks? No. Yeah, Fairbanks. Anyway, not Fairfax. It's fucking anyway, Alaska. It's like there are so many resources there, and like obviously, just like everything, you don't want to use resources and then like just ruin it, obviously, but having access to them is important. It's like, you know, when you enter any kind of shit hits the fan mode, you want to have a backup plan, you know, like, you know, it's really nice protecting all of the coastal redwoods in California, but it's like if push came to shove and we like, you know, we needed wood, then cut down some redwoods. Redwoods are good wood anyway. It's really, really sturdy, has a nice smell to it. It grows back up really quickly. I mean, coastal redwoods, they're like they're almost like a weed. You really could just, you know, throw some pine cones or whatever and they'll sprout up in like 30 years. It's really advantageous, some of these coastal trees. But, yeah. Anyway, that's enough geopolitics. We should buy British Columbia. I agree. At least Vancouver and that small section of British Columbia, so we can have a road. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. What should we switch back to? What else is going on now? We talked about our projects. We talked about BABSCon coming up. What else is going on in the world for another half hour? We'll wrap up around 2 hours again, as has become custom. I've never been to Canada. Are people generally nicer? I don't know. It definitely, I'm sure it is like on the whole true, just because of you know, the various the day-to-days of governments. But I mean, certain areas of America are pretty like passive too. It's really just like, you know, it's a couple of spots that are definitely more brazen. Like the greater cultures develop separately just by their nature. You know, the America was the half that broke free from England, and Canada was the half that wanted to stay under the Commonwealth. And so that great sorting that happened at the end of the 18th century, you know, certain kinds of people who wanted to stay with the Commonwealth versus wanted to take the risks and be America. It was kind of like a divergent evolution in a way, and so those two cultures evolved and forked off from each other, and so you have the kind of the brashness of the American stereotype, and then you have the general pleasantness of the Canadian stereotype. And then, of course, within both of them, there's like, you know, if you drew them both as a Venn diagram, I honestly think there would be way more overlap than there is outside of the Venn diagram, but you know, there's still a marked difference. The only time I've been into Canada was Winnipeg. I went up there from visiting my grandmother in North Dakota, and I mean, Winnipeg was fun. It was nice. There's a Tim Hortons on every corner. It's literally their McDonald's. There's fucking Tim Hortons everywhere, which I was fine with. You get some pure Canadian maple, which was good. I'm not sure if it was good enough to put on your flag, but it was good maple donuts from Tim Hortons and some coffee to go with it. So yeah, it was a fun time. I definitely still want to visit like Vancouver, British Columbia, Toronto, and Montreal, and yeah, all the other fun Canadian places. I mean, shit, I still need to visit a lot of American places. I've still never been to New York or Boston or New England in general. Really never been to Florida either. So, shit, man. I mean, it's like Europe. That's why America is so big. Just visiting all the states is like several years worth of like planning and intentions. And even California's really fucking big too, that it took a couple of road trips before I feel like I've seen every corner of California. But that was fun. Vermont maple or Canadian maple? Or is it a tree type, or I was speaking of the I was making a fucking leaf joke, but you know, I just like maple in general. I don't know. We had this great little one-off donut place down the road from my house. Like, you know, it wasn't a chain. It wasn't like a Dunkin' Donuts or anything. Little one-off donut shop by my house growing up, and it was so great. Really nice people. Good prices, good variety of donuts, and had a whole selection of like maple old fashioned and stuff. And yeah, that was a good time. Really liked that place. Oh, the syrup. That I don't know. I actually I've actually never really been much of a pancake person. Like every once in a while, if I go to like an IHOP or something, I'll have a pancakes. And as a kid, like we got the Lego Maego, like the frozen waffles, but I kind of grew out of that pretty quickly. I've never really been like well, honestly, I've never really been a breakfast kind of person, and so that really limited my exposure to like maple syrup in general. So when I talk maple, I'm usually talking about like maple icing on a donut. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting when you get into foods and stuff. It's just like with palate too. Like you always think of as a kid how fussy kids are. No, I don't like that. I don't like the taste of that. And now as an adult, like so many things I not only like acquired a taste for, but really enjoy. You know, hot sauces and mustard and onions and stuff. As a kid, it's almost like your taste buds are too new. Like almost you have to wear them down a bit before you like certain foods that have a sharper taste or a bitier taste. Different spice combinations like, rosemary and nutmeg and thyme and things like that. So I don't know. It's funny growing into certain things like that. Oh yeah. Of course, beer and alcohols too. Yeah, you get used to as you get older or things like that. Yeah, no, I mean, if I am going on like a road trip or I'm having like a big start to a day, I will stop and get breakfast somewhere. It's maybe a Denny's, or if it's a quick on the road, get a McDonald's breakfast or something. But it is good to start off the day with a breakfast. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not like in the mood for it really until like lunchtime normally. So, but if I am having a big kickoff to a day, then yeah, I'll get some kind of breakfast. Yeah. I mean, obviously, home cooked food is the ideal. That's the best case you can get, whatever the circumstance. Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, there is a kind of bacon I like getting that's like an apple wood maple, like sort of, whatever the hell they do to it. It is bacon, but yeah, they have all the apple wood and maple goodness cooked into the bacon, and that's pretty good too. That's very good maple. Anyway, so foods and Kenyatta. Anything else? What haven't we talked about yet? Yeah, like I said, so I got the old-fashioned Evangelion, so I'll be watching that soon. I'm just going through a lot of my old, like, Blu-rays and stuff that I haven't watched in a long time, like, especially the anime section. Then I'm like, oh yeah, Ghost in the Shell. I don't know. I've been in a kick of it lately because of all the new stuff on the way. They're making that Cowboy Bebop 2. Because of all the remakes coming out of Cowboy Bebop and the new anime of Blade Runner and stuff, that I'm going back to all the old classic cyberpunk stories and all the things that they have to offer. It's pretty easy to make a pancake. You just need to look up the mix. Pancake is just another kind of bread, right? It's just a different combination of flours and eggs and, maybe a bit of wheat germ or something like that. Oh, is there actually a One Punch Man season 2? Oof. What if they called it Two Punch Man? How funny would that be? No, I remember I watched the One Punch Man, the sub on Hulu when it came to Hulu for a little while. That was good. I mean, it was an enjoyable story. I really it was a neat concept of having like just a character that is so OP, so overpowered that you kill anything you're fighting in one punch. It is really interesting starting with that as a premise and then still having a whole narrative around it of, okay, he has unlimited physical power, but then he's limited by all these other really stupid things like his like his social ineptitude of trying to make friends with, the poor what's his name? His android friend with the robot arms and stuff. Just making friends, dealing with the day-to-days of bureaucracy, trying to get his like superhero license or whatever. It was a very interesting concept. That was yes, hashtag Two Punch Man. It was fun. It was a fun show, and then bringing it through the arc, through the other characters that he interacts with, and then the big finale, and the crazy green hair like witch girl too. She was entertaining. It's a good show. Oh, really? It's made by a different studio than season 2, so it won't have as much of the amazing animation. That is unfortunate. I know, didn't Korra go through that? Legend of Korra, where the first 2 seasons were animated by one studio, and then like the third season, they went to another studio that was like like a big step down, and everyone noticed, so they had to go back to the original studio or something? I don't know. Yeah, that's another one of those things. You don't think about art style or animation studios changing in the middle of a show, but it happens a lot. I mean, you see other things too, like old shows, like Scooby-Doo, for instance. How many different series Scooby-Doo has had, but one property to another, one movie to another, how different some of the animation styles can be. Or in more recent times, DC movies are like that, where every other DC movie looks like it came from a completely different animation house. Yeah, I hope it's good. I hope all these, animes and shows coming out are good. That's half the reason I'm watching the originals, but the other half is I'm not sure how good they're gonna be, like, already for the Cowboy Bebop live action. It's like, first of all, are there any good live actions? Like, I think the only one markedly so is Alita, it sounds like. Alita did pretty well, but like, come on, you can't even get a corgi. Like, they announced that they're gonna get a husky to be Ein in the Cowboy Bebop live action. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Come on, man. That's not even trying. You're not even trying to make it good. Oh god, and then I forgot about this too. This just, I think it's true. I don't think it was just some BS made up story, but I guess the live action Akira movie that they're making is like totally Americanized, and it's set around like fucking New York City, and it's just garbage sounding. Like the whole plot is like Kaneda and Tetsuo were like brothers or something, and it's just, it sounds just horrible. It sounds like fucking Dragon Ball Evolution or something. I don't know, man. I think to some extent, some stories have to remain in their medium. It's like we talked about with the Lion King meme this last week too, about how all the lions and animals are so realistic, super realistic, that they can't animate emotions onto the faces of the animals. It's like, do you know how emotional, like, cats, any kind of big cats or small cats, they have expressiveness to their face. They'll give you a look of surprise or anger or whatnot, but it's like, all of these Lion King screenshots are like completely flat face, like all the lions, like all the mocap work was done by fucking Kristen Stewart or something. Just emotionless, flat colors. It's like, it's just another phase, you know, it's another phase of Hollywood, just like with the 3D shit, just like with the PG-13 shit, that it'll take a few years, but eventually Disney will just decide, okay, we're not making return on all these anymore, so I guess we'll make 2D animated movies again. Like, for instance, the Tangled, the Tangled TV series, that's incredible. That's like, I never even heard of it, but then the, I guess one of the, like, season finale songs or something dropped in my timeline, and it's like, what the hell is this? They made a show of Tangled? And it looked great! Like, I would watch a theatrical movie with that kind of animation. Like, they could have easily made the Tangled movie in that kind of animation. Maybe, like, a few steps more, a little bit more detail or whatever, but it looked fine. It's like, why can't you just fucking do that with movies? Like, seriously! It looks good. Or, what is it, the DuckTales show too, the new DuckTales, you know, now they finally reintroduced Della Duck, the mom, and that's really well done too. Really good animation, good writing, good, like, you know, execution. Same with like Gravity Falls and stuff. It's like whoever's running like the Disney television department, they know what the fuck they're doing, but then like Iger, whoever the fuck is like making the movie decisions, they obviously don't. So, I don't know. Are they really making another Avatar live-action adaptation? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. I just remember how much flack the original got. Like, first they had the whitewashing controversy, which was, you know, there was a little bit of a point there, but it's like, then the movie was just so shit that, like, no one cared anyway. They're really gonna try another live action of that? Oof. That's not a good idea. That is just not a good idea. The original is fine. I just got the Blu-rays. Perfect. 3-season stories, well-crafted arcs, the whole thing planned out effectively. You know, you had a few missteps, like the, like the Canyon story, where it's like the two brothers and Aang like lies to everyone. That's like, that was one misstep, but it's like, otherwise the series is very well crafted start to finish. And you know, we don't necessarily have to talk about Korra. That wasn't quite as well crafted, but yeah. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Pikachu, then it's gonna be hard. Like, I kind of get it, now that we've seen enough, like, commercials, enough, like, of him in the character. Like, I kind of get it now, but it's still a little disappointing. I still want everyone still wants a Danny DeVito Pikachu somewhere. So I hope they do that at some point. Just like a throwaway joke in the next movie or something. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, like, surprisingly, that's the one live-action, quote-unquote, adaptation that I'm actually kind of excited about. Because, A, they're not adapting a previous story. It's a brand new story that, you know, they're telling in the Pokemon world. But, you know, okay, whole new city, Rhyme City. Whole new main character, you know, whatever, what's his name is. Whole new Pikachu, whole new sort of concept and execution. It's like, they're using the world using the universe but telling it in a different medium, that works a lot better than doing a direct adaptation. You know, doing a direct adaptation is always going to have its problems one way or another. You know, like Jurassic Park. I can imagine there were some big Michael Crichton book fans who, you know, they probably didn't like how kiddie, you know, how child accessible the final movie was. Like, it was scary, but then when I was older and I actually read the Jurassic Park book, it's like, holy fuck. This is like a whole nother level of like bloody and visceral, and then they fucking firebomb the island at the end. Like, you know, of course it's gonna be different. But it's like, some of these, just keep the universe but tell a different story. Like for Cowboy Bebop. Maybe if they had the characters there in a different universe, or they're just other players and there are other main characters or something. I don't know. It's just, it's got to figure out something to do where you incorporate the old without shitting on the old. Speaking of which, I mean, this is the most timely thing to talk about is Star Wars. Star Wars Rise of the Sheev. Can you fucking believe it? Now that's all anyone's talking about is, oh my god, they're just going full Palpatine for the new Star Wars. Sheev. Oh my god, I'm so excited now. Not even for the movie. I hope the movie will be good, but like all I'm excited about now is all of the prequel memes, all of the Red Letter Media videos that are gonna fucking come from this now that like J.J. Abrams is like, okay, fuck it, just gonna put it all fan service. We're gonna go back to fucking Endor. It's gonna be the ruins of the Death Star. We're gonna go to yet another fucking sand planet. Like, how many sand planets can you put in one series? That's right, they probably are going to ruin Palpatine. And this also effectively fully, not that it wasn't already ruined, but this also fully ruins the end of the Return of the Jedi, because now they didn't actually kill the Emperor. They didn't really stop the Empire. They didn't really kill the Emperor. Everything was for shit. They should have just done a fucking direct adaptation. I know I just talked about adaptations. Should have just done a fucking direct adaptation of the Dark Empire books. Would have just been better. Everyone would have liked it better instead of all this Rey shit and then Rian Johnson. And it's just like endless trash. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. I hope they have like six or seven of the fucking pop culture fan cast, whatever the fuck they called their podcast thing. Oh, I'm so excited. And of course they're gonna do the Plinkett review, and Mike Stacklasa can do his Sheev voice until it fucking gives out on him. It's gonna be so great. I'm so excited. I mean, holy fuck, man. I mean, it's so ridiculous, but I am actually like, at least it's engaging me. Like, you know, like the fucking Family Guy Star Wars movies are more exciting than the last couple of actual Star Wars movies, so. That's another thing I gotta pull out. The Family Guy, what was it, Blue Harvest movies, and then the Robot Chicken Star Wars is too. Oh yeah, the Jedi Fallen Order. That actually, I'm tentative, cause yeah, we have Chris Avellone, who is one of the main Fallout writers, is apparently the main writer for that game, and apparently it's just single player RPG. There's no multiplayer bullshit. Supposedly there's no microtransaction bullshit or anything like that. So who knows? I don't know. Like, the trailer really didn't get me jazzed, to be honest. I felt like the trailer was a bit of a misstep. Like, okay, you're introducing a Jedi in the post-Order 66 world universe. But at the same time, the trailer didn't really grab me like the balls by like the Star Wars 1313 trailers did. Like, it was just kind of like, is kind of okay. It is a little bit too repetitive with the, you remember the 3 rules, you know, you never remember the past or whatever the fuck bullshit. Like, I've already forgotten it. Like, okay, I kind of get it, but it's like, might have been a little bit too, it was just a poorly executed trailer. I think the game has more promise than, you know, obviously all the other EA fucking games, but the trailer could have been better. It could have engaged a little bit better. Are they actually not using the Frostbite engine? Yeah, that is probably a good news. It could be a reboot of the Unleashed games. Yeah, maybe. The first Unleashed was okay. It was just the second Force Unleashed where it's like, they didn't really do anything new. It was such a short, protracted game that the only exciting thing about it was the DLC where you know, fucking kick the, you fucking kick the Ewoks 1,000 feet in the air. That was the best part of the game. Yeah, that's right. It is the PC, the kind of the Twitter mob outrage. I mean, it's just like Mass Effect Andromeda, and it's just like with Anthem, where, okay, so, yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda, you gave a little bit too much stock in the, you know, in the woke demographic, which is fine, but obviously it wasn't fine, because the game fucking crashed. But then, for Anthem, they were like, okay, we gotta make the game as unmemeable as possible. It's like, okay, good job, bro. You made a game that was so boring and so unengaging that no one even bothered to meme it because it was so uninteresting, you know? In some ways, you want a game to be somewhat memeable because a meme is just a soundbite of intelligence. It's just a packet of information. You know, that's the whole concept, you know, whatever the fuck, however Dawkins described it. And so, no, you want a game that has some kind of ability to permeate through the internet in fucking macros and GIFs and whatnot, but it's got to be a good game. You know, you want it to get memed for good reasons, not memed for bad reasons, and not unmemeable, where it's just so fucking bland. This is like the whole, concept that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And that's what you nailed right on the fucking nose. Instead of making a game people hated, you made a game that no one cared about. Oh man, and some of those stories, like the Kotaku breakdown of why Anthem is the way that it is, like 6 years of like indecision and like not really having a real concept for the game at all. That's kind of the way I felt when I played Destiny. I'm like, okay, so there's a bunch of like raw elements here, but there's no story behind it. Like, you're calling things by even more generic ass terms like the light and the darkness and the fallen. It's like you know, like, of course a lot of games have to use easy to remember things like that. So in Halo, you had the Covenant and the Elites and the Grunts. But then when you crack open the Halo books, there's a lot of actual deep lore to it. You know, there's the Sangheili and there's the Ungoi and all that good shit. But it's like, Destiny, nothing about Destiny the game led me to believe that there was a book somewhere that even partially described any of this shit. And it's just like, you know, there's got to be enough story in the game where it stands on its own. You know, that was the problem of the last 2 Halo games, where nothing about them felt like you could just play Halo 4 and Halo 5 and enjoy them. It felt like you needed to know a lot of other extraneous information about why things are the way they are. You know, they needed a few more cutscenes explaining what the fuck is going on. And Destiny needed like a whole game explaining what the fuck was going on. And apparently, not that I played it, but apparently Anthem just had nothing the fuck going on. So there was no game, there was just a set of, you know, gameplay loops that ultimately engaged very few people. Okay. So yeah, games are looking not so good right now. So hopefully Fallen Order is fun, and hopefully, you know, we'll get some fucking Cyberpunk eventually, and yeah, I don't know. It's a weird time in gaming. It really is. Like Like, you know, you don't have to go down to like indie level, but it's like you can make a AAA game that doesn't have like $500 million packed into it, where then it has to be, you know, the most popcorn, you know, lowest common denominator it can be. You know, put a little less money in and target an audience, you know, make it so it would actually please someone, you know. I mean, this is like life 101. If you try to please everyone, you will end up pleasing no one. Period. You know, it's just going to be generic shit that no one cares about. You gotta pick someone who would enjoy the thing that you're trying to make. Yeah, and man, I was like, I read the Halo books, or I read them for the most part, and like I read the whole fucking Forerunner trilogy and stuff, and even still, fucking Halo 4 and Halo 5 were like, okay, so wait, what? Why are we here? Who the fuck are these Guardians? What? It's like I had to go after the fact and watch a bunch of Xperia videos to know, okay, what the fuck are these Guardians? Okay, what was the domain again? Oh yeah, Galaxy Wi-Fi. Okay, it's like, come on, man. You gotta lay down a few more pieces. You know, that was the whole point of Cortana in the original Halo games. She explained the shit. You know, she talked to, you know, Lightbulb Face, Guilty Spark, and then they both were like, oh yeah, the Halos, they're just gonna fucking kill the whole universe. And you're like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I need to stop the Halos from killing the whole fucking universe. Okay, that's easy. That's straightforward. And then Halo 2, oh my gosh, the aliens are on Earth. I know Earth. I know I want to protect Earth. It's like straightforward. And then you go to Delta Halo and, you know, you do you know, the Gravemind shit was still kind of explained. It was easy enough to figure, okay, we saw the Captain Keys, you know, the Flood jelly brain in the first one. So now this is a big, you know, jelly brain that can talk. That's enough. You understand that enough. You don't have to understand all the deep lore of the Flood to understand Gravemind in Halo 2 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Oh my god, it is 15 years ago. So that's all I'm trying to say. You have to explain enough within the medium that it makes sense. I mean, hell, that's something I've purposefully done in Confessions and the other stuff that we write. It's like you need to restate, you need to reiterate enough stuff where someone just coming into something can be refreshed of it before you go into it. So it's like the Ranger story. It's like, okay, this is a Steel Ranger. Okay, what's a Steel Ranger? Here's a little primer on what the fuck a Steel Ranger is, or why you should care. Why is this important? It's like, you know, get the person invested within the framework of the medium of the thing you're trying to say. Yeah, Xperia is really good. That's a very fun channel. Hello, Despacito, or whatever. And she will likely be dealing with the logic plague. Yes, that's right. Yeah, now enough of that Halo lore is filtered up through the cracks that more and more people understand the logic plague and where the Flood came from and the precursors and, you know, choosing ancient humanity over the Forerunners. And so the fucking fish face Forerunners got all butthurt about it and started a war. They're like, the mantle is mine, precursors. We deserve it. And then humanity, like, kind of figure out the Flood, and then they kind of have it contained, and then the Forerunner fuck it all up. And so then they have to, you know, they have to devolve humanity 100,000 years, which is a real dick move, and then you know, start from zero. So that sucks. Okay. Well, we are coming close to the end of the 2 hours. Definitely an unconventional stream, but I think we had some fun. Quick reminders for everyone of the few who are going to BABSCon, or if you are going, and here's a little breakdown. We are going to be on Saturday in the Lunar Hall at 3:30. You should see us around. You know, obviously we're going to be around, but also, I do have some stickers on me. If anyone wants his EAST Corp stickers for, you know, $2 or $5 for 3, you can get some EAST Corp logos. We got a few fun Wasteland Survival Guide character faces for the stickers. And, I think the panel will be fun, and BABSCon should be fun, and should be a good time. Use the Uno reverse card. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then there was another thing in the Forerunner books where they're like, okay, so we have a whole entire first set of Halos and a first arc, and then they fucking got rid of all those, and like, okay, the lesser arc, which is actually the more advanced one, is the arc that then we know about on the Edge of the Galaxy. So, yeah, BABSCon's a lot of fun. I think it's one of the more well-handled cons. Like, the staff are generally pretty nice, and I mean both the hotel and the actual convention staff. Because, yeah, some con locations, man, they can be mean. Like, fucking BronyCon. All the people at the Baltimore Convention Center, like, fuck you. You're assholes. You're awful hosts. I wish they would stop paying you money, and I'm glad it's the last BronyCon, because all you people are horrible and mean. Hope you lose money from the event. Yeah, but no, BABSCon is generally pretty nice. The hotel is very well laid out, where everyone's just in this big outer ring, and then the big convention atrium area in the middle is where everything happens. And yeah, it's pretty well laid out, pretty nicely contained. You're close enough to San Francisco and the Bay that you can do a lot of like different stuff in the city if you're, visiting from out of town or whatnot. So yeah, it's generally pretty good. Do you know who else will be there? I might have missed if you said that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of, as far as, like, big show people, I know, Rebecca Chiochet, or Sunset Shimsham, is going to be there. Celestia, Nicole, what's her name? Is going to be there. Those are the two I'm focused on, because those are the two I don't really have, signatures from yet. Although I do have, actually, I got Rebecca's signature, like, fucking 6 years ago, right after the first Equestria Girls movie, but I got her to sign the Twilight plushie because she was the singing voice of Twilight, and so I mainly thought of her as that. But then ever since Rainbow Rocks and Sunset's character overshadowed everything else in the series, it was like, okay, well now I need her to get her to sign something with our sun horse. So Yeah, closet brony. Those are hard times, but I understand that. Yeah, cosplay is something too. Like for me, I've done cosplay once or twice, but it's like it's a lot to manage. And yeah, it's good to be able to be the character too, because of course people are gonna pass by and stuff, and it's hard, man. It's easier just going and enjoying it, but cosplay can be fun if you're good at doing it and you want to do it, but it's a different experience. So yeah, it's all about what you want to get out of the con ultimately. It's good this year too, because for whatever reason BABSCon added a day also. It's like, we also want to be a 4-day con, so it goes all the way Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I feel like I'm going to have time to spare. I more than any other con, I feel like I'm going to have some periods of just kind of like hanging out and taking a break. So it should be interesting. A good thing too, right before you get to a con, is to load up on like food, like unperishables, and mostly foods you don't need to refrigerate. Like usually the hotel room will have a refrigerator, but you never know. It's just good to have some cheap, like, food you can buy from like a Walmart or Walgreens or something, because there's not a lot of cheap restaurants in the area. There's like a handful, but inside the hotel the food is expensive and stuff. So it's good just to have like granola bars or fucking, Slim Jims or whatever, where it's like, if you really want to just have a quick dinner or lunch, you can, without paying too much out the butt for it. It's easier if you have like a car. There are like fast food and stuff up and down the highway, like a few stops, but directly within like walking distance of the con, it's not too much. I mean, if you go completely around, it's on this like outer short thing facing the bay, but if you go like a mile up, there's like there is a four-way intersection with like an in and out and a few places like that, but directly within like next to the hotel, it's mostly places inside other hotels, and then there's like a a burger place, and a sushi place, I believe. So, yeah. Oh, God. Now we're up to 10 people. Why are you guys all showing up now? I thought everything... I thought everyone would be earlier, not later. Well, I guess we could keep going on if we have a few more people. If we still have some engagement. What else is there to talk about? What we did for BABSCon, what's coming up. Yeah, I don't know. My voice is starting to give out too. I'm lucky too. We were able to get a good room for BABSCon and Everfree now that aren't by ourselves, luckily. So we could split it between 4 people instead of just the 2 of us. So that's a lot better. It's a lot cheaper having a hotel with like 2 queens rather than, you know, split a king. It's always a... it's just expensive, man. These days, hotels can really get up there. But you pay enough money just getting there, you know, on a plane or driving. And especially gas prices in California are only ever going up. And thanks a bunch, Newsom. I really appreciate it. Another good idea for the con is to show up a day. Oh, yeah, absolutely showing up a day early. Like, we're getting there on Thursday. Like, the con starts Friday, but... a lot of people get in on Thursday, and you can get your badge like the night before, like the early pre-registration, and that's definitely a smart move, the best way to do it. Because then, Friday morning, you just go to your opening ceremonies, and you know, hit the ground running. You go to whatever panels or people you want to see. And yeah, you don't have to rush as much. Are there other YouTubers that you know that are going to be there? Not off the top of my head. Here, let me pull up the schedule. Okay, they got their big Excel spreadsheet, which is a little bit tricky to read, but once they get the con books printed, it's usually a lot easier. So they have a renegade stage and a welcome reception, which should be interesting. We'll see what kind of stuff goes on that renegade stage. Apparently they'll have a karaoke room, which probably not going to do that or maybe I'll do a karaoke. I don't know. It's tricky. Usually I screwed up on this one singing thing last year, which was show songs. Because show songs I don't know, you know, for the most part you see them the once or whatever, but I'm not like singing them all the time. I'm doing like, you know, parodies of other songs for my shit, but Read It and Weep, Pony Archive, which that's probably like older brony stuff. Fuzzy Logic's Escape Room. I'm guessing that's like a chill zone. Like if the con gets a little bit too overwhelming and you need a place just to chill, they have or no, wait. No. That's probably an escape room as in Escape Room the game, where you're like, you have a room and you have to escape from. Okay, so that might be interesting. Silent Auction, Railroad Bronies Train Setup, Thursday. Oh yeah, registration, of course. Brony Chef, Canterlot's Dinner. Interesting. Martial Brony's Hooves On. If you want to learn, I guess, a martial arts workshop. Nintendo games, party games. Then some kind of open foyer. And then the game area where they have followed Equestria, the card game, 18+. Cards Against Humanity, that could be fun. Secret Shipfic folder, and then Pony Finder. And then you have table reads with Tabitha St. Germain, a rarity. Writers panel, that's usually a lot of fun. Bronies React. Cosplay 101. Minty's fan animation workshop. Then you have Dead Tree Studios and their tabletop bullshit. And then us, our amazing radio play panel. EG Studio Showcase. I'm not quite sure what that is. Ask the Princesses. That's where 4 princess cosplayers do like a whole bit, and that's usually a little bit of fun for people. It can only happen at a con. BABSCon Edition Year 3. I think that usually reviews like crazy stuff that happened at last year's conventions, if I remember right. Lord of the Ponies, Fellowship of Is Magic. Don't know what that is. Tarot Cards Pony Edition. Oh my gosh. Lip sync battles, that was the thing. Yeah, I fucking blew that out. Just completely shit that up. So I'm not doing that this year. BABSCon musician panel. Dana Simpson, Dusty Cat, another escape room. VIP meet and greet. That's if you bought one of those big, super high society badges. Barnyard Rumble at BABSCon? I don't know what that is. Open gaming. Magic Rain Boom Balls with the Brony Chef. Don't know what that is. Some kind of Harmony, like, paid event thing. Meme sealed for... some like paid event panels. That's kind of interesting. Then a whole lot of stuff on Sunday. This is like... I guess Sunday's the packed day this time rather than Saturday. Tabitha, Kazumi, and Bill, and autograph signings. What else is here? Open gaming, more registration, Science of Pinkie Pie, Ponies the Anthology, MLP Comic Artist Panel, AC Race Best and Saber, Spark, Cosplay Judging Contest, Magic the Gathering, Theatrics of BABSCon. So you want to be a YouTuber. So you want to be a con artist. Ha ha ha. You got it? Con artist. Ha ha ha. Love is in bloom. Finding love and marriage in the fandom. Oof. That's, could be useful. Animator panel. Auction in the main hall. Silent auction. Tabitha St. Germain and Dana Simpson Reed. I don't know who Dana Simpson is, but... Sounds fun. And then the Monday day, Ponies, Mental Health, and You. Iron Artist IDW Edition, Renegade Stage, Minty's How Not to Make a Fan Project. That's probably a good lesson also. Open mic, salon signups, cosplay coffee clatch. Some more Tabitha, Kazumi, and Bill. I think Kazumi, she's the Rarity singing voice. She's pretty nice. And then closing ceremonies. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting. It looks like it was a 3-day convention that they spread over 4 days. So it'll be interesting seeing how all this plays out over time. I know a big thing about cons though really is who you go with. Like you know, at least half the entertainment of a convention for me is, you know, going with Needle or other old Stable Tech days or other groups of people you know that you can screw around with. You know, someone you can go out to dinners with. You know, getting to meet L Train at Everfree last year. Things like that. It's usually who you go with that makes most of the fun at a convention. And of course, you can split off and do separate things and then converge back together. But it is really nice just for, like, you know, the evenings and for, like, food times and stuff. You want to have someone you know that you can then, like, rally with, you know, share the experience together. That's the magic of friendship. So, you know. You better go all out for the panel. Yeah, we try to. I mean, I'm definitely, you know, I'm a performer, so I try to give it my all when we're on stage and stuff. But, you know, it's a toss-up. It's a bit freeform. It kind of depends on how things go. I read and listened to all the versions of the Fallout Equestria books and audio. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that's why you'd be here, because we try to do that ourselves. That was my favorite thing when I started getting into the FOE wiki, when we started adding our own stuff in there, was then seeing the big side stories page. And we almost have our own section down at the bottom. It's all 3 EAST Corp radio plays, Confessions, Terminal Secrets, and Wasteland Survival Guide. And then there was Comic Sans, the Pony Nuclear, what was it, Studios? I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the series, but it's sort of like a shoddy cast type series. And yeah, it was like we almost had our own section at the bottom, which was pretty neat to see. And, yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, cons on the other side of the country. That's always that's the hard part. I remember, Everfree 14, I had to fly all the way across 4 from Virginia, and that was a long flight. But you know, at least I got stuff done. I actually wrote a lot of The Ghoul Doctor on my flight to Everfree Northwest 2014 from Virginia. So that was really interesting. I remember it was like a 6-hour flight, and I was taking American Airlines, I think, and it was a yeah, it was good. I had a whole row to myself. I was like near the back of the plane, and no one was in the other seat, so I like stretched out for a little bit, and then I went back to my laptop, and I remember writing the bits about, you know, the big explosion in the reactor, and Ghoul Doctor getting, you know, dropped from 50 feet on the railing, and having a suit torn open. And it was as good times, you know, convention memories. My favorites are Pip, Homage, and Velvet. Yes, absolutely. I was always partial to the Steel Hooves and Applejack relationship in the original, but otherwise the Velvet and Calamity stuff was very, very fun. Oh yeah, going to BronyCon and then moving. I'm guessing out west. Yeah. It's definitely a different time than the East, that's for sure. I remember when I first moved to Virginia from California, I kind of messed with everyone I met and gave like really dude bro California voice, man. Like I was straight out of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or like Wayne's World movie. Which is really ironic because both my parents are like deep Midwestern. So it's like I was raised in a, you know, I was raised in a Wisconsin kind of way, but in California. So there's whole subsections of California like that though. There's a big Midwestern population that came over like in the Dust Bowl and stuff. So, you know, but that's not the California the rest of the world knows. Oh yeah, Florida. That's something else entirely. Even as a Californian, I am in awe of the greatness that is Florida. Oh man, I couldn't take Florida just for the humidity, man. I've talked about that before, but the hurricanes are something else as well. Like California, we get fires, you know, we get fire season and the occasional earthquake, but like, man, regular like hurricanes every year, that's really fucking crazy. Like I don't know how I could deal with that. Even in Virginia, we had a few hurricanes where it was like, okay, be prepared to evacuate, keep your radio on, and I had like, you know, the emergency water in the bathtub and stuff, and it's like, oh my god. Oh, ready to go on the highway and evacuate to fucking Richmond if I needed to. Oh, wow. Yeah, New York to Florida. That's a night and day right there. Oh, San Diego, yeah. Oh, San Diego is beautiful. That is really nice weather. I always like San Diego. It's a great college town too. Like the lower center of San Diego between the university and the naval base. That's the best of San Diego. That's like the really classical, good weather, bottom of the canyon, great food, great weather. That's good. Yeah, that's right. East Coast lightning. That's something else. That's like California, we get a lightning storm like once a year in like August, maybe. But I remember my one trip to DC in 8th grade, you know, it was a week-long trip, but we must have had like fucking 4 nights of it was heavy lightning in May. And then I didn't see anything like that again until moving to Virginia. And then the entire hurricane season, you're getting this like non-stop lightning, which is really, really crazy. I really enjoyed it because I love the sound of the lightning and stuff. But I guess I like it because of how unique it is. You know, growing up in fucking the Central Valley, there's like no weather. You know, there's fires and that's it. You know, we don't have snowstorms. We don't have, well, we've had some flooding. That's been since coming out of the drought, we've had a few significant floods in the Northern California, but besides that, we normally don't have, you know, tumultuous weather, so that's been something else. Yeah. Oh yeah, ending up in the eye of a storm. That is interesting too. It's like you're surrounded all this lightning and stuff, and then for like 15 minutes or like an hour, then nothing happens. You're like, what happened to the storm? And then the storm comes back and you realize you just passed underneath the eye, which is really it is a surreal experience. Earthquakes up here, though, are like nothing. You really don't feel them up here unless, like, San Francisco gets a big one, and then occasionally you'll feel it. But really, the only earthquake I've ever felt in my life was in Los Angeles, naturally. And that was, it was so funny, too. We were down there for our high school trip. Our senior year of high school, we went, spent a week in Disneyland and Universal Studios. And we went to Medieval Times, the Medieval Times restaurant and entertainment experience, where they, do the little horses and knights and all that good stuff. And we had the steel cutlery, which was really cool. Big, wrought iron steel plates and a steel soup bowl and stuff. And right in the middle of the performance, they're going back and forth with the horses, and like our side was like Team Green, so we're cheering on the green horse and this like really Irish-looking guy. And then the horses start freaking out, and we're like, "What just happened? Is this like part of the act?" And like 5 seconds later, then we felt it, and all the metal plates all around the restaurant start shaking, like really, really significantly. Like you really heard the like. On the, it might have been a metal counter too. So the metal on the wood or whatever, it made a very, very significant sound all around the place. And it lasted like 10 seconds and, went away. It's all the little ones, which are good. You want the little ones to relieve pressure. Because of course, California's due for another big one anytime now. In terms of geological history, could happen at any time, in the same kind of way how we're like, 100,000 years have passed since the last time that Yellowstone went fucking nuclear. So that could also happen at any time. The Yellowstone super caldera just like, casting fire over half of the continent. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be just like 2012, the movie. Which, of course, is what something I worked into the Mercenary as well, because that was kind of the idea in the Mercenary was that is like big volcanic region like Yellowstone, the Golden Stone Caldera, and the little bit about how when the Great War happened, half the volcanoes in the region went off as well, because it's like cataclysm dominoes. If you're gonna have some big fucking magic nuclear war, you gotta have some volcanoes go off too. My parents had actually just moved to California when Mount St. Helens went off in is Washington, right? It's either Washington or Oregon, up there, And they talked about how much they felt it down here, 300 miles south, but it was still one. I mean, the mountain like blew, half the mountain blew off. It was like 12,000 feet, I think. And then after the explosion, the mountain was down to like 8,000 feet high. And so it's just this giant gaping hole where Mount St. Helens used to be. And California actually has some big volcanoes like that too, like Mount Lassen. And then there's one in LA also, I think. So theoretically, those could go off at some point as well. I think there was a 90s disaster movie like that too. I think it was called Volcano, and it's literally just that Los Angeles area volcano going off. It's got some Spanish name, I think. But anyway, fun times in natural disasters. Oh, since you're from California, what do you think of the idea of Jefferson? That's right. State of Jefferson, baby. That's the dream. Yeah. A lot of Northern California would definitely like to be isolated politically from San Francisco and the Los Angeles area, but it's probably not going to happen. It'd have to be part of some big deal, honestly. Like because of politics, the only realistic way you're going to get like a state of Jefferson is as part of a bargain with Puerto Rico, for instance. So we'll split California in two and have your Jefferson in exchange for Puerto Rico. And then, you know, if you want DC statehood, that's got to be in exchange of, like, cutting off Chicago from southern Illinois or cutting off New York from upstate New York. So, you know, it'd have to be a trade-off like that, probably. But even then, it probably isn't going to happen. Honestly, it'll probably stay like this just for a long time. Helen is up in Washington. Yeah, it is somewhere up there. You know, that's the Ring of Fire, man. All of California and Oregon and Washingtonian and you know, Alaska. It's the entire Pacific Ocean is a Ring of Fire. We only get wet, moist heat in Winnipeg. Oh yeah, I can imagine. At least Texas has a dry heat. I'd rather have that than wet, moist heat. I don't know where. You must be in El Paso, because when I passed through Dallas, that was not a dry heat. That was a pretty fucking moist heat. For me, when I'm thinking of nice dry heat, I think of Vegas or Phoenix. Phoenix is actually probably too hot, honestly. Phoenix is really fucking hot. I'd take Vegas over Phoenix any day. For a number of reasons, but I think because Phoenix is in like a bowl too, so like Vegas is actually like 2,000 feet up, like 700 meters up, so it's got a good, you know, it's got a little bit of a high desert in it, so it's not like a lot of water is settling in it. But then places like Death Valley and Phoenix, it's just too hot and too dry, so I just like, I don't know. Ways from Island Lakes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's all the way up from Minnesota and then up into Manitoba, where you've just got like fucking thousands of lakes from the receding glaciers of the last ice age, which is pretty crazy. It's crazy if you think that just within human history, you know, the last 20,000 years, when you had all these glaciers and like the Bering crossing, you know, over Alaska and Siberia, and you had when the Sahara Desert actually was green and actually had like a lot more like people and civilization on it before, you know, everything got fucking desiccated right before the Bronze Age. So it really is crazy how just within like recordable human history, within the days of language, that how different the world was. It makes you wonder how different the world will be, you know, 20,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now. Who knows? It could be, we could have the Antarctic archipelago and a whole bunch of wars over who controls what Antarctic islands. Yeah, the Antarctic Treaty, that can't last forever, man. It's Russia want their stake, and the Ross English want their stake, and who knows how that'll all work. The Maple Men's. Maple Men, that sounds like a great demonym. From now on, we refer to all Leafs as Maple Men. How do you do, my fellow Maple Men? Oh, that's great, actually. I really like that idea. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue like fucking Leafs, but it's still good. It's still good. We got Maple Men and Burger Bros. And what would Mexico be? Tacos. There's your NAFTA. There's your great North American Conference of Minds. Burgers, maples, and tacos all at the table together. That's right, Day of the Rake. It's gonna happen. And not soon enough. Oh, man. But no, Canada's great. It's I actually started watching a Canadian food channel on YouTube called I forget what it was called, but it was this guy, you know, he seems like some kind of food service industry guy. He's like, you know, late 50s or whatever. And he was making the original, quote unquote, the original Coca-Cola recipe from like 1886 or whatever. And he made note of, you know, it's not perfectly the original Pemberton Coca-Cola recipe because he didn't have any coca leaves, you know, some natural form cocaine to it or anything, but But yeah, he made the drink, and I guess it was very very limey and with a lot more bitters and vanilla, which is really interesting. So I know for me, like even with regular Coke these days, I always had I always liked the lime Coke and the vanilla Cokes more than the original. So it seems to make sense that the flavor combinations, you know, from the start, they were always meant to be mixed with a good amount of vanilla and lime to them. Oh, goodbye, Despacito. Have a good day. That's right, Minnesota. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Minnesota and North Dakota are probably more like Canada than they are like the rest of America. Oh gosh. Yeah, it's all about the Great Lakes, the Rust Belt region. Whole different kind of country, eh? I remember when I took my dad back to Wisconsin one time, where he's from, and we went to see a Packers game, of course. And it was a home game in Lambeau Stadium against the Bears, and all the Bears fans had come up from Winnie City, Chicago, and luckily it was a game when Rodgers was on game the whole time, and so it was like the first half they were losing like 56-14 or something, and you could just watch at halftime as all the Bears fans went home, and they had to take their sad drive all the way back down to Chicago. So that was a fun time. Yeah, Wisconsin at the break of winter. I don't know how the fuck they still don't have a roof on Lambeau Stadium, but that gets cold, man. Like, they have like heated benches, and the field itself is heated too, so the grass doesn't die, but like, man, that can get cold. It didn't get bearable again until like all the stands were filled at the beginning of the game, because then all the people, you know, you had the big stadium lights, and all the people just nestled closely enough together that even though the ambient temperature was like, you know, below freezing, it was okay. Like we were okay in what we were wearing. That, you know, that's an experience for me, man. I'm used to it where the coldest it gets outside is like barely freezing, and that's only in like one or 2 weeks in January. Normally it's like 40s and 50s. That's a California winter for you. Yeah, that's right. Ohio is quite close to the Mid-Atlanticers. Yeah, it's very, you know, Ohio has a really interesting history in terms of America, like the war against the Kenyattans, the Maplemen, and the Indians too. A lot of really interesting colonial history. That's one thing I liked about Virginia too. If I ever did move back to the East Coast, I liked Virginia because you have a little bit of that colonial America feel, and a little bit of that, you know, the southern toms with all the fucking pulled pork sandwiches and sweet tea and stuff. And you got a little bit of the north too, you know. You're on the break of DC and of the New England goodness. So it's a nice centralized region to be if you want a little bit of the broad American experience. And it's also right on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains too. So if you want to go uphill and get a little bit of that Blue Ridge charm, you can do that too. It's still below freezing here. Rest in potatoes. Yeah, no, California, now it's starting to get too hot. Now we're like, I'm putting on the air conditioning. It's above 70 outside. It's above 20 C outside. I don't like this. Oh man. Okay. Well, we got a little bit over our conventional BandanaCast time. So now how about we wrap it up? Now, are there any last questions or topics anyone wanted to talk about as we wrap up our BABSCon pregame show? And yes, hopefully we will have some kind of broadcast, you know, at the beginning of the con. You know, maybe once Needle and I are set up on Thursday, we'll do a little thing with everyone. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Canada will rule the world. That's right. Canada just needs a few things, man. You just need to beef up your military a little bit more, and then you've got more shale oil and uranium resources. Honestly, you could give the U.S. a pretty good run for its money. You have a shitload of resources, and same with Australia. Australia, the whole fucking outback is uranium, man. If Australia wanted to be like a big nuclear state with power and everything, like it could really do some significant, damage across the world. What is your next music project? That's right. Honestly, the next project is getting the 2 songs out to go with Confessions 8, or possibly 3 songs because it's so fucking long. This is the longest, that's for sure. I think it's gonna come in at 5 hours. Yes, so I need to do those. I have a list of Fallout-esque songs that I'm thinking about, but I haven't exactly picked out which ones yet. So that's definitely in the near future. And then it's summertime, so I'll probably find another alternative rock or some kind of song like that I can really, there was an attempt. just like with Hearts and Hooves Day with the Blink 182. I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. I knew it was a stretch beyond my abilities, but I just love that song so much. Bored to death and fading fast. I just had to give it a try. So I'll probably take a step back into something I'm more naturally comfortable with. But yeah, we'll definitely have a few songs over the summer as well. And as I said before, hopefully we'll have Confessions out by July. That's up mainly to our main VA. She is great. She has the spunk. She wants to do it. She's hungry to get the recordings done, but it's just, it's a few of the side characters too. Make sure they get their recordings in, and then there's editing and stuff, and hopefully my job doesn't, bend me over the table like it did last summer. What the fuck? My whole summer got taken up by all these odd, screwy side things that took me away from damn Confessions 8, so I couldn't get it done until late August, which, that really pissed me off, but I'm trying to plan around, any potential interruptions like that this year. So hopefully I'm working so hard to get it done in July. All the art is done. That's the thing that kills me. The art is done. That's not the slowdown anymore. It's the damn everything else. Seriously, is What the Fick dead or not? Yeah, I would like to do another What the Fick as well. It usually just happens when, both Needle and I can find a time, and, that's hard enough as it is, and Needle's about to do her, surgery stuff, so hopefully we'll have another What the Fick in, like, June or something, because I would like to do another, because I love those, but she'll be a little bit out of commission for her voice once her surgery goes, so we will see. If nothing else, maybe I'll do a mini one just me in May or something in between cons. Because it sounds like Everfree is good to go too. So we're going to be at Everfree. We'll probably premiere another Wasteland Survival Guide and get more of those out as well. It's just waiting for recordings. It's just waiting for recordings, guys. I'm trying. See, this is the problem. I can only do what I can do. Certain things are out of my control. So hopefully soon. I'm pushing as hard as I can. Trust me. I'm keeping the thumb on the scales to get Terminal Secrets out there and to get Great Experiment out there as quickly as, as realistic as possible so that they're all still good. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up because my voice is about done for the night as well. So thank you guys for joining us for another BandanaCast. For anyone who is listening, who is going to be at BABSCon, please look for us. Gonna have some stickers on me. You can get some of those if you want. We'd be happy to sign anything you guys have. Happy to hang out for the panel and other Fallout Equestria related events there, and it should be a good time. So, have a fantastic weekend, everyone out there, and we will see you again for the next BandanaCast. Oh shit. Damn it. I was gonna have the theme pulled up and have a nice play out, and here I closed that folder so it wasn't pulled up. So now I gotta do it on the back end like so. Thank you. Have a good bandana kind of weekend.